So what you're gonna do is get something that has a nice 90-degree angle on it. You could use a book, you could use a piece of paper, anything you have on hand that has like a nice right angle. You can use your paint stick and just make some preliminary lines. I wouldn't cut through, but just basically sketch on top very subtly on the top so that you have kind of like a nice line to go with. And then you're gonna get your first right angle. Our walls are all gonna be 3 inches wide. So I'm gonna mark 3 inches in 2 places. And what this does is it gives me my width, but if I do 2 places, it also gives me a parallel line to this line. So now I can do a parallel line. As I match up the holes that I just made, draw that line. I'm gonna do the same thing. Actually, I could have done this whole thing because then I don't have to do as many measurements. Because I'm gonna put 2 walls here. So I'm gonna measure that. I'm just matching it to the other line. And then I'll measure another 3 inches, again, the width of the next wall. So you're basically just making like a graph on your clay. And you need 6 walls because a cube has 6 sides. Then I'll show you guys how to put it together. So you just do it to each line. And you only use this paper for the first like angle. The rest of it will all come together from the measurements. And now you're going to do the same thing from this line, measure 3 inches. So 3 inches, and you only have to measure twice. 3 inches, and then make your line. And then do it one more time. Once you're satisfied that you have sketched this together correctly, and you're like, yeah, that looks pretty good, then you can cut through. And we have fettling knives, which is what this tool is to do that. So I'm just gonna scratch through that. If you have holes from measuring, all you have to do is take a tiny piece of clay and put it in the hole and then fill the hole back in. I have an air bubble right here, which I'm gonna poke, and then all you do is you squeeze it like a pimple and get the air out. And then you close it again with either a piece of clay or your fingernail. Like just check it again and make sure that these have 90-degree angles. And if they do, you're like good to go. So then you're just gonna cut all the way through. Save this stuff because you never know if you're gonna use it. I would put it in a piece of plastic and just put your pieces inside. Remember, the more air that's inside, the more they'll dry out, so try and get everything kind of like together. Because who knows, you might mess up and you might need to make a new wall and then you don't have to redo the whole thing, you know what I mean? If you use wet clay, you need to set these aside and let them dry enough so that they keep their shape by just sitting here. I use super dry clay. It's because I know I need to make my box now while you're watching. So when it's like this, it's ready to go, which means it needs to stay as wet as possible. So I'm gonna add it to this clay.